but this is a live broadcast on TikTok. Yeah, here we are. Hello, everybody. Latifa, thank you so much for joining. Yes, you managed to connect. Who else is there? This is a new platform. I can't see who is actually here.
Attendees. Oh, it doesn't give you.
Anyway.
Here you go.
Here we are. Tracy, Caroline, Latifa, Emma, thank you so much for joining. We are going to have a live conversation for about an hour. And there's a lot of information that I'm going to put in this hour on menopause, the Ayurvedic perspective on menopause, and how to look at menopause from the lens of Ayurveda. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Now, very briefly, Ayurveda, the knowledge of life, who looks at health and well-being from a holistic perspective. It understands our human existence through the lens of the 5 elements of space, air, fire, water, and earth. These 5 elements, they form what is called the 3 constitutional types of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata has to do with movement. It governs any kind of circulation in the body, communication, neuronal communication, for example, movement communication, transportation, for example, transportation of nutrients to the cells. It's all linked to the element of Vata. Vata is characterized by the following quality, and this is what I want you to pay attention to. Each of those elements and doshas has got its specific qualities. So Vata is dry, rough, cold, moving, changing. These are the qualities of Vata. Pitta, the element of fire, which has to do with our digestion and metabolism, is made out of the quality of slightly oily. It is hot, it is spicy. And then Kapha is the element that is, it's the dosha that is completely opposite to Vata, which has to do with the quality of being heavy, sluggish. It's cold as well. So when we look at well-being and health from an Ayurvedic perspective, we always understand any disease through the lens of these 5 elements and its corresponding qualities. Talking about menopause, this becomes very, very crucial and very important. I've got the screen to my right here. So if I glance over here, these are my notes for this webinar on menopause. You may ask yourself, who is this guy who talks to women about menopause? I don't have the experience of having gone through menopause, but what I can reassure you is over the past 35 years, I've helped guided many women through this transitional phase in their lives. And menopause, the way it is perceived, there's a lot of weight, a lot of stigma around menopause. There's a lot of heaviness, a lot of sort of almost reject when it comes to menopause. I just want to spend a couple of minutes to reflect back upon how in the traditional ancient wisdom traditions, menopause, if a woman has reached the phase of menopause, the woman was celebrated. It was considered a phase where we basically, a phase where love and wisdom embraces. Love and wisdom embrace. So where a woman moves from their love towards their family, to growing up children, to being around children, to being there for the family, where that love that it was mainly focused as love towards the family, that love expands in unconditional love. And this unconditional love during menopause combines with wisdom. There's a lot of knowledge and wisdom that a woman can actually impart on. And that was celebrated. It wasn't a stigma. It wasn't something that people feel like, oh my God, I'm going through menopause. I can't really talk about it. And what I'm sharing in this webinar here today clearly is a collection of situations, experiences that women have had during during my clinical time. And like I said, I can't talk about the symptoms itself. I can only share of what women have shared with me on their journey and what I was able to help guide them and sort of navigate them through the process. I really have to hurry up because there's a lot of information I want to carry. Please forgive me, I'm quite fast. So, setting the scene. Now, Ayurveda looks at life through three phases in life. The childhood phase, this is where our body grows, our tissues grow, where the body tissues build, where we go from a baby to early childhood, for example. That is the kapha phase of growth. Then we have the adolescent phase or young adulthood, which is called the pitta phase. That's the time that roughly starts, well, now everything is mixed and muddled up again. But Ayurveda considers sort of a phase between 20, 25 up until 40, 45, where it's all about forming family, building family, striving in life, building wealth, building a home. That's the pitta phase of life. And then the middle age from 50 onwards is the vata phase. And when we talk about menopause, we talk about transitioning from pitta into vata, from the phase of high achievement, purpose driven, the purpose more directed towards building a family, towards moving towards a time where a woman shares the wisdom and the unconditional love that has been gathered during their time when they were building or when you were building a family. Now, interesting here is, and I had this discussion yesterday or a couple of days ago, people think, oh, menopause, yeah, a lot of young women, they try not to think about menopause because of all the stigma around it. But if you would start thinking about menopause already, let's say around 40, it will definitely could be very, very helpful to reduce the symptoms during menopausal age. I'm going to explain how this all links together. So that's the phase, as I said, where you shift from pitta, from the fire principle, high achievement, into vata, where it's all about where the purpose changes. So my invitation to you would be to reflect and use that time to reflect on the challenges of the past and use that wisdom that you have gained during that phase and pass that on. What is it that you can share? What can you give other people in terms of healing that experience? So the symptoms on a physical and psychological or psycho-emotional level are very much dependent on your own personal constitution. And this is the beauty of Ayurveda. Menopause is not just menopause. It depends very much on who you are, what is your constitution. So we briefly will look at a vata imbalance during menopause, which is mainly characterized by excess dryness and compromised bone health. All right. Pitta, mostly during perimenopause, is due to fluctuations in hormones, but also hot flushes. And then the kapha imbalance can lead to stagnant lymph system. It can lead to lethargy, depression, weight gain. So this is roughly an outline where you are. If you are more predominantly vata constitution or pitta constitution or kapha, then the symptoms during menopause are very likely to vary. Now, as women are built according to the creator, to source, whatever we want to call it, their body is very much built and programmed to give birth to children. So natural programming to bear children, and moving into a phase where the body no longer is required to function in such a way as if the body would be ready to give birth to children, changes its nutrient reserves. So what is happening is there is a signal going on physiologically that the woman moves out of a childbearing age, and that means the nutrient storage resources are no longer required as the resources that were required during the time when a woman is more and more fertile. So what that means in practical is there is reduction of calcium and other nutrients in a woman present at that time, which leads, of course, to the reduced potential to produce, to form, to fuel the engine. Think about your physical body as an engine that is fueled through nutrients. And one of the symptoms that are prevalent during perimenopause and menopause is the fact that there is nutrient deficiency, or the likelihood of nutrient deficiency is quite high. So now the body thinks and knows, especially during perimenopause at an early age, the body thinks and knows that actually we no longer deserve these, we no longer need these reserves within the body, and the body starts to break down those natural reserves, and that can lead, for example, to deficiency in calcium, which leads to osteoporosis as very often symptom related to menopause. There is also another element, another layer to that. Those women who have been long-term, over an extended period of time, during the fertile years on contraceptive pill, so long-term use of contraceptive pill can intensify the symptoms of menopause or perimenopausal symptoms. And this is basically because already during the time when the body naturally is designed for the possibility to give birth to children, when you take the pill or contraceptive pill, you send a wrong message to the body that the body doesn't actually require those nutrient reserves any longer, which may lead to further increase in the symptoms of menopause. And there is a basic sort of communication breakdown, because we give that signal even though we are not yet in a menopausal age. And that's why nowadays, very, very often, a lot of women start to experience symptoms of menopause already at a very young age, because of stress factors and because of the fact of long-term use of contraceptive pill. So looking at it from, and when this is happening, diet often is not good enough to actually replenish this nutrient deficiency. I will give a lot of practical tips, recipes towards the end of this talk on menopause, as much as possible, that you can take away and you can use. So some very simple kitchen recipes and nutritional advice that you can take away to help minimize the symptoms of menopause. So please bear with me. I need to lay the foundation, the understanding where I'm coming from. So looking at it through the lens of Ayurveda, what happens during the age of menopause is a lack of stability within the physical body. A lack of kapha. As I said before, kapha is that element that gives structure to the body, that basically holds our tissues together. It's the fluid, it's the muscles, it's the physical density of the body that forms the kapha element. And when we move towards menopause, I say we. So, yeah, I just keep saying we. It's just so ingrained in my physiology. When a woman moves towards menopause, it means that naturally there is a depletion of that cushioning of the kapha element. And this is simply because the vata energy gets increased. Vata, think about vata in terms of air, think about the quality which is dry, cold, changing, irregularity. So, roughly, any kind of lifestyle that mirrors those qualities, that enhances those qualities, will naturally enhance the potential for symptoms related to menopause. So, I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, just type them in the chat box so I can have a glance as we dive through the information. So, in summary, the female body is naturally designed and programmed to reproduce. As a result of no longer becoming pregnant, the body starts to break down certain substances like calcium and other minerals that are important for bone health and the formation of other bodily tissues, which are naturally stored in higher amounts during the fertile ages of a woman. This is also true for other nutrients. I'm thinking about omega-3s, iron, folic acid. These are all important nutrients that provide fuel, that provide energy to the body. So, and during the fertile ages, the body is naturally designed to store those nutrients. And when this shift happens, naturally the body thinks I no longer require them. And that's why a lot of the time menopause, perimenopause leads to deficiencies in those areas. Contraceptive pill can worsen the symptoms. And also there's another element to this. So women who have not experienced pregnancy in their lifetime during their fertile ages are more prone towards experiencing aggravated symptoms during the menopause. So this is roughly gives you a bit of a breakdown. I want to spend a couple of minutes on the psycho-emotional elements of menopause. There's a lot of, like I started my talk, a lot of misconception around menopause, a lot of stigma for women around menopause, especially if there's one thing that I wish would happen is that a woman who is in a relationship, doesn't matter male or female, it's more difficult if you have a husband or a partner who does not understand what you are actually going through. And any man, this is why I said to Dan the other day or this afternoon, this lecture, this talk is actually for men, because men need to understand what a woman undergoes through during the phase of menopause. So it is about understanding the changes, embracing those changes, and supporting a woman in a process where they step into another role, where they step in a tribal sense, step into the role of the wisdom bearer in a tribe, the role of the mother who people go and they ask for advice. They step into the role of healer. And all of that knowledge and understanding is gone. Nobody is really, or hardly anybody in society talks about it, because women are pushed to constantly still be active, go out, earn their money. There's a lot of pressure that aggravates the hormonal that contributes to an aggravation and imbalance in the hormonal system. So I want you to think about the psycho-emotional aspect of the phase of menopause. And I want you to reflect on a couple of questions. If you struggle with symptoms around menopause, then ask yourself the question, is there a fear of aging? Is there a fear subconsciously of being undesirable or not being needed anymore? These are just questions. Because answering those questions, healing those wounds, will be a wonderful way to reduce the symptoms of menopause and actually use then for you to be able then to use that phase as a celebration rather than a lot of women came to me and they said it's actually a curse to go through this process. So it's not a curse, just reverse psychology. Let's look at it from that perspective. So another questions to ask is, and I keep smiling because I'm sharing this, do you feel resentment towards men because men do not understand where you're coming from, what you're going through? Men during the phase of menopause, they may start mocking you. Oh yeah, she's got her hot flushes again. And that is very down-putting, honestly. So is there any resentfulness? Is that the right word? Resentment towards men around menopause? Because naturally it could be a phase where menopause, men on pause. Did you press the pause button on men? And why is that the case? Is it because you feel undesirable? Is it because you have been mocked? And also, do you feel that value and purpose in your life has been challenged? What is your relationship to your mother? Another big thing to ask within that realm of understanding menopause. Do you resent your body? Do you feel your body is letting you down, betrayed by your body? These are questions this is programming that might run subconsciously. So you may not be aware of that programming because it's so deeply engraved in our psyche, in society, that you may have to dig deep. I'm just inviting you here to dig deeper. The conventional approach to treating symptoms of menopause would be to go and do HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I'm not going to talk about this. I will look at it from a nutritional perspective. I will give you some recipes. I will give you some yogic techniques that you can use that might help you navigate through this phase in a much better way. So I want to leave you with reflecting on those questions. Now, diving a little bit deeper into a Vata imbalance. So menopausal complaints in relation to Vata dosha, they can be expressed in a different way. So if you experience Vata symptoms, what does that mean? Mood swings. Think about the fact what I said before. Vata changes. Vata is irregular. So mood swings. A tendency towards excessive worrying and ruminating thoughts. You go over things again and again and you can't break that cycle. Light sleep or insomnia is also an indication of a Vata imbalance related to menopausal symptoms. Increase in bone loss. Bones, bone health, very important. And I will talk about practical things you can do to improve this after I've sort of laid the foundation. I'll keep an eye on it, probably another 5 minutes, 5 or roughly 10 minutes on understanding what's going on, and then we look at the remedies and if there are any questions. So dry skin, dry mucous membranes. So vaginal dryness, for example, is one of the key symptoms that women experience during menopause, which can naturally contribute to low libido, which can naturally contribute to the fact that they don't want to be intimate with their partners. What are we going to do with that? How are we going to approach this? I'm going to talk shortly. Tendency, dryness as well, tendency towards constipation, changing metabolism. Sometimes your digestion is good, sometimes it's bad. Arthritis in the joints. All of these are Vata symptoms. Pitta symptoms, burning sensation of the skin, hot flushes, irritation of the skin, hormonal fluctuations. So if one of the symptoms you experience as a woman during menopause is primarily hot flushes and hormonal sort of fluctuations sometimes, because perimenopause means irregular menstruation, irregular menstrual cycle. That's when you start to realize that you're moving and changing. So that means hormonal shifts, sometimes strong menstrual bleeding, sometimes hardly any bleeding, sometimes it comes with very strong symptoms and pain and so on. Skin-related issues, decreased libido, irritability, metabolic disorders. As I said before, these are symptoms related to Pitta, the fire element. Kapha, weight management, weight gain, lymphatic congestion, accumulation of fluid, depression, increased blood lipid levels, which means the tendency towards high cholesterol, for example, could be an indication of menopausal symptom related to kapha. Now, how does Ayurveda look at those symptoms? The main treatment approach from an Ayurvedic perspective is, how can I balance those energetic principles? How can I balance the element of space, air, fire, water, earth, respectively, as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha in the body? How can I look at finding a calm and steady rhythm in life? Look at appropriate diet, look at supportive nutritional supplementation and minerals, look at rejuvenative herbs that can be used to help build and rejuvenate your bodily tissues. So also regular exercise, detox and cleansing regimes. This is another thing. Now, listen to this. A lot of the women that I've seen in the course of my clinical practice at some stage in their life, because of the challenges of going through this constant, regular, monthly cycle, they found it or find it very difficult. But I always try to say, look, by you going through this menstrual cycle every single month, you have a natural ability to detoxify and to cleanse. In Ayurveda, one of the main treatments to actually purify the body is bloodletting. Think about menstruation as a natural way to cleanse the body, to ensure that there are less and less accumulation of toxins within the body. The male organism doesn't have that. So it's just looking at it from a different perspective. Now, when your menstruation starts to become irregular, when you become irregular or it stops, that natural way of detoxifying stops as well. So we will briefly touch upon some detox regimes and cleansing regimes that you can do and how you can strengthen your physical body. Ayurveda looks at strengthening the mind, the physical body, supporting emotions in a healthy way to go through this. So far, any questions? Are you with me so far? Can I just get a quick sort of idea in the chats? Question, yeah?
Can you briefly, for 1 minute, talk about the difference between Vata, Pitta, Kapha? What does it mean? If someone has never heard of Ayurveda, how would you explain Vata, Pitta, Kapha? Because you keep referring to that.
I thought I had explained it roughly at the beginning because I didn't want to give too much.
They're bodily types, right?
All right. So
Constitutional
a Vata constitutional type, naturally your bone frame is thinner. You might be more tall. You might have naturally the tendency towards dry skin or constipation, naturally the tendency to worry, anxiety, erratic nature. Vata people are very creative. They have a very strong imagination. Okay? Vata constitution. Physically, tinier body frame, tall, tendency towards darker hair, curly hair, for example. It can also be an indication of Vata. Pitta is reddish tint of skin. You can clearly tell I'm a Pitta type. Tendency towards red skin. They are very good managers. So they have got a fantastic ability to compartmentalize and to manage things. Pitta has the tendency towards ulcers, skin-related issues. What else? The main region of Pitta is the liver. So difficulties in the detox pathways could be an indication for a Pitta constitution. Kapha is a personality who's very content, who are very forgiving. They naturally have a more plump way of how their body is built. So that gives you roughly an idea about Vata, Pitta, Kapha. A Kapha mindset is very forgiving, but however, they have the tendency towards depression, where Pitta can be very angry, irritable, and Vata can be very forgetful and very anxious, like a little rabbit in the headlights. That's the kind of Vata personality. Pitta is that warrior kind of type, and Kapha is like, yeah, let's just take things very slowly, shall we? Don't push me. I'm just mocking. Sorry. That's me. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do we prepare and minimize the symptoms of menopause? It is recommended, like I say, that a woman from the age of 40 pays close attention to their hormonal balance and physical well-being. There is a saying in Vedic text which is called, hang on a second, it's called Heyam Dukham Anagatam, which basically means in Sanskrit, prevent the danger that has not yet come, or avert any difficulties that have not yet arisen. So the better as a woman you can prepare yourself for the stage of menopause, the easier you will sail through. But here we go, a lot of women, they shut down, they don't really want to talk about menopause, they shy away because of all the stigma that comes with it. So adjusting lifestyle to reflect the changes that are happening and avoiding certain foods, certain behavior that could in particular aggravate Vata. Think about the quality of Vata again. What is it? Dry, rough, cold, moving, changing. So everything, changing rhythm, irregular lifestyle, exposure to cold foods, all of those qualities or a lifestyle that aggravates those qualities will lead naturally to aggravation of the symptoms of menopause, because Vata is the general characteristics during the menopausal age of a woman. So I need you to understand the foundation, not need, but I'm inviting you to look at the building blocks rather than just sort of taking for granted what I'm saying. I want you to understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. So one of the key aspects is during menopause, perimenopause, reduce the consumption of any stimulants. Reduce. I'm not saying you shouldn't have reduced consumption of coffee, black tea, alcohol, or tobacco, in particular at nighttime. Okay? If you like your coffee, your black tea, whatever, have it around lunchtime, but try to avoid it in the evening. So, because that can further aggravate the symptoms of menopause. In general, these are general principles. Look at incorporating 2 warm meals a day, freshly prepared, very comforting foods. Aim to avoid dry foods, raw foods, especially at nighttime. Okay? Anything warm, anything that is in opposition to the qualities of vata, dry, rough, cold, irregular, changing. Use the principle of opposite. Foods that are warming, foods that are unctuous, oily, nurturing, building our physical body rather than depleting it. So, what else? Freshly stuff, apples, for example, carrots, good quality fruits are very good because of their impact on rebuilding, the ability to rebuild and rejuvenate the bodily tissues. I will go through spices in a minute. I will give you some recipes in a minute that you can write down or revisit this webinar afterwards. So meals should be prepared freshly, good quality. Look at your vitamin C levels, vitamin D, vitamin E, together with other nutrients, okay? I will mention a couple of Ayurvedic suggestions in a minute. But think about dietary supplements can be helpful, but I would say look at balancing your lifestyle. You look at finding natural resources of these nutrients that support your well-being. It can be a very expensive adventure to buy all these supplements. And what is the point of buying these supplements? You take them, your body is not able to absorb them, and you just create expensive urine and you flush it down the toilet. So think about how you can use your food, your nutrition, your lifestyle to balance the symptoms of menopause in general. Think about detoxification practices. There is an Ayurvedic approach which is called Panchakarma, elimination, detoxification in 5 different ways. I'm not going to go through this process. Basically, it looks at colon cleanse, it looks at stimulating your lymph system, and so on, by preparing the body to release toxins from the tissues, not just water-soluble toxins, but also fat-soluble toxins. So any kind of gallbladder flush and things like that, detoxification can be helpful. Think about fasting, intermittent fasting, even if it is just 16 hours, 18 hours of fast a couple of times during the week, because of the fact that the menstruation becomes irregular when you are in menopause, no menstruation at all anymore. That means your natural detox pathways are being compromised. So find natural ways of how you can get rid of your toxins or accumulation of toxins within the body. Think about liver cleanse, gallbladder flush. So what else? Yeah. In Ayurveda, when I have sort of been able to, anybody who has come to me to ask for advice around menopause or in general how to deal with the symptoms, if the person is strong enough, ready enough, I would prepare that person for a laxative process. In particular, building it around new moon, detoxification around new moon, laxative around new moon on a Saturday is a fantastic way to reset your hormones, to support healthy bodily functions. There are different ways of detoxification. There is intestinal cleansing. So enemas, for example, are another fantastic way of detoxifying. Healing herbs. Yeah. Anything else? Now, any questions so far? Have a look in the Q&A tab. Where is the Q&A tab?
Right.
Ah, there's a chat. Oh, found the chat. Okay, let me just have a look. What about the effect of, yes. Okay, human replacement therapy is again human replacement therapy. Oh my gosh. This is when Vata gets out of balance. Just keep talking. Hormone replacement therapy is like an artificial way of signalizing to the body that actually initiating a process that is unnatural, okay, and trying to make up for something that the body naturally no longer needs. So it's like, again, the default mechanism. It's again putting your body into a situation where you make your body believe of something that no longer exists. Caroline, I don't know if you are still there. Thank you for that question. So wild yam cream, I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, can be a very natural way to help balance the hormones. And this is simply because wild yam has the ability to regulate hormones within the human body. So if there's an increase in estrogen, reduction in estrogen, increase in progesterone, or not enough progesterone, or testosterone, even for men, they can use wild yam ointment, wild yam, then that naturally will help the body to do what needs to be done. It activates the body's own self-repair mechanism to know what can be done. So HRT, we answered that question. M is here. Hello, M. Will the recording be sent to us? Yes, it will be. Emma, managed. Welcome. Okay. Any other questions? Please type them in the chat box. We are talking about menopause. Right. Now, get your notepad out. I'm going to give you a few recipes. Take it or leave it. It's just some Ayurvedic remedies, home remedies that you can use to reduce balance, prepare your body on a regular basis to go through this process. Now, the following recipe is a very potent recipe that you can use to help cleanse the uterus and vitalize the body. So, for about 20 days within a month, this is a recipe, write it down. 20 days, you take about half a teaspoon of crushed, dried garden cress seeds. So garden cress, it's different from watercress, and the botanical name of garden cress, anyway, you will have those who have registered for the recording, for the webinar, you will have access to it, but I'm typing the botanical name into the chat for those who are in the webinar. Okay, it's Lepidium sativum, which is crushed garden cress seeds, are very, very good for the body to revitalize the body. And add some ghee or clarified butter. If you don't know what it is, nowadays it is commonly available in the supermarkets. Pakka is a very good source. And add some jaggery, okay? Jaggery or sharkara. Now, it's basically Ayurvedic sugar cane, but is much more rich in minerals. And it upsets your glucose metabolism to a much lesser degree than using white sugar, for example. So I will repeat, for 20 days, half a teaspoon of crushed garden cress seeds, add some ghee and a little bit of jaggery, and take this daily, okay? Take this half a teaspoon with the ghee and a little bit of that jaggery because it's very dark, very rich in mineral. Go and Google, do some research on sharkara or jaggery. A very good natural source of minerals and sugar for those who crave sweets, but much healthier. You can also take about 0.5 gram of saffron on a daily basis. Think about it this way. Why saffron? Because saffron is a rejuvenative agent. I spoke before about the phase of vata, depletion of tissues during menopause. So having saffron on a daily basis, you can put it in a milk, in a nut milk or milk of your choice, together with some nutmeg, a little bit of turmeric, black pepper. It's very good to build your tissues, but also think about some of the symptoms of menopause or perimenopause, disruptive sleep. It can also help you improve your sleeping patterns. If you don't, if you have any further questions on that sleep remedy or this night drink, what I call, just send me a message and I will email you the recipe, because there is a very good recipe on the night drink that's very useful, which has saffron in it. Okay, so you can also have, if you don't like the idea of crushed garden seeds to take, you can also have for about 20 days in a month, take about 1.5 teaspoons of crushed cumin seeds together with the jaggery or sharkara, this dark mineral rich sugar, Ayurvedic sugar. So take 1.5 teaspoons of that with a little bit of the sugar. You just mix it and you just take it in the morning on empty stomach. Okay? What we are doing here, these are recipes to help cleanse uterus. It helps cleanse the female reproductive organs. Anybody who also experiences menstrual symptoms, some of these remedies can also be very useful. Now, in general, I haven't mentioned that before, garden cress seeds are known for their health benefits because they're very rich in certain vitamins and minerals that usually women are depleted of during the phase of menopause or perimenopause. Then, as I said, use ghee or clarified butter because of its nourishing properties. So all the recipes that we are building here are nourishing and building, okay? Saffron, as I said before. Now, what else? How are we doing for time? Oh my gosh, it's already 10 to 3. Let me look at it quickly. As I said before, apples, carrots are good. Almonds in general. I will give you a few recipes with nuts. Coconut is good. Cashew nuts, spices like garlic, saffron are very good. Beneficial during and after menopause even. So here we go, another recipe of an almond honey paste. This sounds delicious, doesn't it? So you basically soak about 200 grams of organic almonds. Please, when you do those recipes, treat your spices, your nuts, your ingredients as medicine. It's much cheaper than buying supplements on a regular basis. But look at the quality. Don't buy any of those cheap almonds because of its chemicals in it. So soak about 200 grams of almonds. I would put them into hot water, and then after about 10-15 minutes, you can peel off the skin. You dry them in the sun or in oven, and then, this is the thing, you blend them and mix them with double the amount of honey. I know you will say, oh, that means 400 grams of honey, but you will put this mixture in a jar and you keep it, okay? So you can take from that jar on a daily basis. You don't need to prepare it every day. So 200 grams of almonds, peeled and dried, mix them with double the amount of good quality honey and put that in a jar. And before you start taking it, let it sit for about 10 days. So almonds and honey, crushed, mixed, put it in a jar, Let it sit not in direct sunlight, but you don't need to put it in the fridge. Just let it out sitting on the bench for 10 days, and then you add the following: 50 grams of black pepper, 80 grams of licorice root, 80 grams of basil, dried basil, and 80 grams of anise seeds. And I will type this in the chat. There's a very good Ayurvedic herb that is used to help treating any kind of menstrual symptoms. This is very useful for women who are going through menopause or are perimenopausal, and that's shatavari. Okay, shatavari is an Ayurvedic herb, which is, by the way, is called Aspargus racemosus. So it is coming into the same family as the cress family, watercress, garden cress, for example. I'll repeat: 200 grams almonds, you peel and dry, double the amount of honey, let it sit for 10 days, then add crushed black pepper 50 grams, 80 grams of shatavari, which is this Ayurvedic herb. Make sure you get good quality, organic quality. Don't buy it in an Indian grocery store because you do not know, no offense, you do not know the quality. Okay? 80 grams of licorice root, 80 grams of dried basil, 80 grams of anise seed. You blend this into a paste and you take about 2 to 3 teaspoons daily on empty stomach before breakfast. Fantastic way to build the bodily tissues, reduce the symptoms of menopause. So almonds, you can make a nut and spice mix. Yes, Dan?
I have a question from Anne on TikTok.
Yeah.
I think it's about the almond and honey. Will it spike my sugar levels?
Okay, good question. Because you add the spices afterwards, the black pepper and all of that, it won't. Okay? So, however, I would suggest you ease into the mix. So take a small amount, observe your blood sugar levels, and then gradually increase. So thank you for that question. Because you add spices to it, it minimizes the sugar spikes, the blood sugar spikes. But please, anybody who is diabetic, check your blood sugar levels before and after, ease into it. Don't just take 3 teaspoons at once. So start with a small amount and then see how you go. Thank you for that question. Nut and spice mix. Okay, here we are. You can use 100 grams of each. 100 grams of almonds, 100 grams of cashews, and 100 grams of the jaggery. As I said, jaggery is a very good sugar, brown sugar, rich in minerals, very good for iron as well. But it doesn't upset your glucose metabolism as much as white or refined sugar does. So 100 grams almonds, cashews, and jaggery. And then you add 50 grams of anise seeds, 20 grams of black pepper. You crush it all together. You mix this dry paste. So if you struggle with honey, if you're not sure about honey, try the jaggery. The Indian candy sugar is made from sugar cane, but without the nasty effect of the refinement process. It's full of minerals. You store that dry mix in a jar and you take about half a teaspoon, let's say 1 teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on your liking, in hot milk or hot milk of your choice or some warm water. Okay, moving on. Oh my gosh, I haven't even had anything to drink. Let me just have a sip of water.
I'm just letting people on TikTok know that if they register for the webinar before 3 o'clock, then they'll be able to get the
recording
after the webinar,
okay.
the replay and the recipes.
Good. So, foods to consider. As I said, ghee, clarified butter, sesame seeds. All right. Now, sesame seeds are a fantastic way of giving a natural way of bringing iron back into the body. So you would dry roast the sesame seeds if you take them on your own. Very good source of iron. So include in your diet ghee, sesame seeds, almonds, dates, grapes, milk, and honey. All of those are considered in Ayurveda rasayanas. What does that mean? Those foods that nourish and build. Think about menopause, the time of change. Your body goes in starvation, goes into depletion mode, naturally has less the ability to store calcium, to store iron. So you you have the possibility to use your nutrition to make up for that deficiency. Okay. One of the factors is during menopause, low in estrogen. So think about estrogen-rich foods, which basically is number one. Sorry, my legs. Garden cress is a good way of natural source of estrogen, and for some people, in particular, Pitta people who have naturally more heat in their body, naturally may have more intense hot flushes as a symptom. You may replace the garden cress with watercress or dill seeds. They are less aggravating for Pitta. Okay, these are some natural ways. So, okay. Garlic, I have mentioned. Use garlic on a daily basis in various forms. If you are Pitta, if you find some of the spices are very heating, you can actually purify the garlic. This is another secret. I'm sharing lots of secrets here. You can put the garlic in yogurt overnight. Okay. What you do is you take a clove of garlic and you cut there's a green stem in the fresh garlic, okay? And you take that green stem out because that's where a lot of the heat is sitting. And then you put this clove of garlic into yogurt overnight. Without losing its medicinal properties, you can then use that garlic in your food. So, but it has less of a heating potency. I personally, when I have too much garlic, my Pitta goes out of the roof. I feel really hot, sweaty, and get irritated. So that's a way around it using garlic. Just as a little sideline commendation, side recommendation. Right. Whew. Take a deep breath. Diet and sleep. So look at finishing your evening meal around 7 o'clock in the evening. Don't eat too late, because when you eat just before you go to bed, your body metabolism is slowing down and you further accumulate toxins because the heavy food that you eat and cannot be digested properly. So go sort of have your meal before 7 if that's possible. Try to avoid raw foods at night. Important. Are you listening? Try to avoid raw foods at nighttime, because raw foods, I'm not against raw food. You can have it at lunchtime. We are talking about menopausal symptoms. If you want to prevent having trouble, or if you want to reduce your symptoms during that phase, in the evening, try to have warm foods. Try to avoid raw foods, because raw food is dry, it is rough, remember? It is cold. So all of these are naturally qualities of Vata. And what did I say? Like increases like. So if you're going through menopause, where Vata naturally is high, and then add Vata aggravating qualities, energetics of food to it, how can you expect to have a reduction of the symptoms? It's logic. There's a lot of logic in Ayurveda. I'm starting to get silly, so please forgive me. But it just sort of means like I've been talking non-stop without taking a break. So fruits also, don't have fruits just before you go to bed. Have them later in the afternoon as a snack rather than in the evening. Salad, raw food, go to bed around 10 o'clock. Ideally, because as my grandmother says, those who have been with me on the webinar, they know the sentence by now or by heart. My granny always used to say, if you want to catch the last train of the angels, then you have to go to bed before 10 o'clock, because that's when the train leaves, the angel train. So what that means is the time, and science has actually proven it, that the angel's train really leaves at 10 o'clock. No, I'm kidding. Science has proven that the sleep that you get before midnight, the quality of sleep is much deeper. And human growth hormone, the natural production of human growth hormone, is strongest during the phase before midnight, in the first phase of your sleep. So here we are. Move on, Thomas. Have that spice milk that I said before, with saffron, nut milk, for example. Another very good thing for you to do, you can have a tea in the evening. Do you want a tea, a recipe for a tea in the evening rather than the milk? Yeah.
I think it's okay to extend maybe by a few minutes and people can ask questions. So I don't think you need to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I mean, if people need to leave, then they can get the replay.
Okay.
But just take a chill pill.
Take a chill pill.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm
No,
racing
it's good.
through
You're
this.
trying to squeeze everything into 1 hour. But
Yeah.
I think we need to extend if you need to.
Okay, if you need to go, please go. I will go on for a little longer because there's one of my favorite tricks that I've kept until the end. I'm a magician by trade, so they say. Oh, Thomas, what are you doing? Tea, evening tea, lemon balm. Add some valerian root to it. That will be very good. You can do a foot massage with warm sesame oil in the evening before you go to bed. So what does that do is, women who suffer from hot flushes at nighttime, if you do the application of sesame oil on your feet, so do a foot massage with warm sesame oil, it draws the heat from your head down into the feet, and it sort of helps regulate the temperature during the night, and it will also give you a decent quality of sleep. Another way, what I would recommend for women who primarily suffer from hot flushes, have a spray bottle of rose water in your purse, in your bag. Okay, rose water, very good to spray and immediately cool down from hot flushes. You can add a little bit of peppermint oil to it if that feels right for you, but that's a very quick way to help reduce the symptoms of hot flushes. It's a very quick cooling way. Also, remember, especially again for people with the pitta symptoms of menopause, exercise, being physically active will help, because that will allow the body a natural channel for the heat to be expelled. So it basically, sweating helps to drive out internal heat. I guess that's what I'm saying. Sage is very good as well to help reduce hot flushes. Coriander, coriander tea, coriander water. So you could crush some coriander seeds, add some hot water, put this water next to your bedside table, let it sit overnight, and then drink it as first thing in the morning. Fantastic way to calm down and cool down pitta. Think moisturizing. Think massage, especially for bone health, okay? Application of sesame oil. I've got quite a few videos on my TikTok channel about the application of oil on the body, how to do it, and all the benefits. Just go and check it out. Very good for your bone health. Then it's very good to prevent osteoporosis, treat the symptoms of joint aches and pains, and so on, and so on, and so on. Whew. There's quite a bit more. I won't have time to go into it. So, but this is roughly, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Chakra or Jaggery. Okay. The wild yam, Latifa is asking the question about wild yam. It depends on the strength. So usually follow the advice, follow the instructions on the wild yam that you actually get. Okay? So usually pea size is enough to rub onto the skin, right? Answering that question, how much? Yeah, okay. I am post-menopause and trying to convince myself to try to come off human replacement therapy. Okay, post-menopause, of course, if from my experience, the number one herb that I would consider, hang on, I need my glasses. I'm going to type it in the chat. Ashwagandha would be an Ayurvedic herb post-menopause, I would consider. And also think about wild yam. If you are lucky enough to have a doctor that is more holistically minded, I would recommend you get off HRT gradually with the support of your doctor, at least with a health professional to help you getting off. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for joining. What about having blood pressure? Is it okay? Black pepper or any heating spices? Again, it's about the quantity. So I would reduce the quantity. If you have blood pressure issues, just take a small amount. Don't go the 1.5 teaspoon as recommended. Just take a small amount and monitor your blood pressure as you go through it, okay? And then also remember, you have, with the recipe that I've given you, with the black pepper, you have 20 days only, and then you are off the rest of the time. So you don't take it throughout the month. You only take it for those 20 days, which means the 10 days in a month, the body is able to self-regulate. But please, please do check your blood pressure. Will these be sent out over email?
The recipes, I'll add the recipes to the email that goes out the day after the webinar.
Okay, so Dan will do this. Thank you, M. Cause my menopausal symptoms, there is no way I can take. Of course, there's a lot of information. Sorry, I've been rattling on. What type of basil? Okay, holy basil. If you can get hold of Indian basil, holy basil is good, because not only number one, the potency of it is different, plus it has got all the spiritual aspects, the consciousness related aspects that come with Indian basil or holy basil. I forgot to mention the mudra. I hope those who are still who have registered for the webinar, a very important mudra that you can use to balance symptoms of menopause is the Yoni mudra, Y-O-N-I. It's very simple. Use this in your meditation. So you put your hands into prayer position, okay? And then spread your fingers, and you keep your index connected with the index and thumb with the thumb, but then you fold in middle finger, ring finger, and pinky so that the knuckles meet. You can see this. And then index and thumb together. So it looks actually the shape of a yoni or female reproductive organ, and you place this into your lap during meditation. A very quick way of helping you to relieve the symptoms of menopause, or in general to help regulate any menstrual symptoms. Tracy, thank you, Tracy. There's so much more to cover. Thank you, everybody, for joining. If you have any questions, you can have a consultation, or you can ask me a question. You can send me an email. I will endeavor to answer. But in summary, menopause should be a time for women to celebrate the next stage in their lives. And it's time for us to take the stigma out of menopause. It's a time where woman embraces the love or expands the love towards their family to more universal love, and connects that universal love with the ancient wisdom. Unconditional love meets universal wisdom. It's a time of celebration. It's a time of re-evaluating your life, stepping into your role as a healer, stepping into your role as the wise woman of the tribe, rather than being outcast or feeling as if you are being outcast. Okay? So enough talking from my side. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, TikTok audience, for being here as well. And hope to see you soon. If you like this webinar, if you want me to talk about another topic, just send us a message and then see if we can plan something on a different topic. Sending you lots of love. Big hug.